All right. And we're going to move on now to our top 10 teams. If you do want to check out our listing, check it out in the description below. We got 1 through 10 here. Guys, no surprise. We don't need to talk about them too much because we've been talking about them really this whole podcast. The Warriors are our number 1 team with 182 points. If we look at the number team. If we look at the number 2 team, they have 155 points. So a complete blowout. The Warriors had the best point guard, the best shooting guard, which Dave is still salty about.
And for
fair reason.
Technically, though, Harden's a point guard. And
he is, but he wasn't at the time.
But he wouldn't beat out Steph Curry.
Stop. Okay.
Or Russ.
Okay,
or
stop.
Westbrook.
Okay, stop. And the Warriors had the best point guard. They had the best shooting guard, which a lot of people disagree with, and not only Dave. The small forward, they had number 2 because we had LeBron above KD. Then Draymond was the number 2 power forward, and then Zaza Pachulia was like 23. But then they also had the best coach and the 3rd best 6-man. So they had 182 points. Not shocking here.
You were close. I'm going to correct you for 2 things. It's 24 for Zaza, 4th for the 6-man.
Well, I did my math wrong, Ricky, so I'm sorry.
I'm cheating. I have it in front of me on our WordPress with the nice little rankings there. So just correcting you a little bit.
Well, it's your backwards math. So I see 7, so then I'm trying to do it in my head and find the ranking. And I did 20. I did 7 plus 30.
You did a great job, stand-up job.
I did 7 minus 23. I did 7 minus 20. I did 30 minus 7, so it was 23. Yeah. So God forbid my math was wrong. But anyways, no surprise the Warriors here. But let's run down these rankings. Number 10 team, we got the Toronto Raptors. Number 9, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 8, we have the Atlanta Hawks, and the Hawks and Cavs are tied here at 8 and 9. The 7 is the San Antonio Spurs. 6 is the Boston Celtics. And here's where it gets weird.
It's awesome.
The number 5 team,
it's awesome.
The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Woo!
The number 4 team, the Utah Jazz.
That's a shocker.
The number 3 team, the Detroit Pistons.
Build a fucking wall.
And the number 2 team, the Los Angeles Clippers. And obviously, like I said, number 1 team, Golden State Warriors. What the fuck, guys?
We got no catchphrase for the Clippers.
Guys,
no.
Guys, what happened? What happened here that this mess?
The Clippers is the easiest, so I'm going to start there.
Yeah, okay.
CP3, Blake, JJ Redick, and DeAndre Jordan. Oh, wait. And Doc, and the 6-man of Jamal Crawford.
They're very
all
top heavy.
10.
Very top heavy.
All top 10.
Yes, very top heavy.
Where it was the Pistons, Drummond helps. Yeah, the 6-man, they had the 5th best 6-man. It's more of, the thing about the Pistons and the Jazz, they were really close. They were only 2 points off. So, one change. The thing that really did help the Jazz was Rodney Hood was kind of high. Gordon Hayward helped them out. We had, we had Gobert up there. The Jazz, to me, though, I look at this and I go 4th best. Probably not gonna pan out like we have it here.
But the thing is that we have, again, we keep bringing this up, and it's star power driven league. Yeah. So you look at this and you see
they got great players. They got good players, but no star.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
And that's a knock against Hayward.
But if you look at this though, they don't have a 29 or a 30. But if you look here at number 9, you see the biggest number 30 here for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's LeBron James. And that's the reason why they are winning championships. Mm-hmm. And it's not saying that
let's be honest, if we could put LeBron James in his rightful place as head coach as well, they'd be even higher.
Exactly.
Technically, if you did look at our coaching thing, LeBron featuring Ty Lue.
But if we could give him the full credit, he would be the number 1 head coach in the league.
Number 2 head. Number 2.
And then if we did GM rankings too.
Yep. You got to add in GM rankings.
Number 2, we got to give rightful credit to Luke Walton.
But anyway,
we're
saying here is blame realgm.com. But
star power.
But
it really is. If you don't have that one stud on your team or 2 studs, even it doesn't matter. We've got teams like the Clippers who. Mm-hmm. Lots of great players couldn't pull the trigger in the playoffs. They've constantly disappointed.
Well, they're not a full team. You don't have a small forward.
Well, yeah,
that's their lowest ranking. Just don't have 26 or something like that.
But to be fair, the Warriors played 4 positions on their team as well. So,
but they have the bench.
They got the bench mod.
They have the bench. The
Clippers don't.
They don't have the center position, and that's really what hurt them in the finals. But they still have an amazing bench.
Yeah,
still didn't hurt their ranking.
Pistons. I love their depth. They're young and they're super exciting. I think we're all really high on them.
And they have potential stars and just haven't hit it yet.
Multiple.
Yeah, I mean Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson looked fantastic. Tobias Harris looked dominant when he came over.
Yep.
And then obviously having a coach like Van Gundy, and that's something with the Pistons too, where I'm shocked that they're that high.
I feel like,
but then again, it's kind of warranted because they're that good.
The Pistons are like the better version of the Magic. Like they're what the Magic wish they were. When the Magic are like, we got 10 deep.
When the Magic when they should have kept SVG.
I'm just saying,
it should have kept Tobias Harris.
they are the 10 deep. We got a ton of great guys. The Wolves, honestly, is the one that I'm interested in because the Wolves, are we like 2K17?
Well, I want to say the thing with the Wolves and the Jazz. Those two might be a little bit. You might disagree with me with what I'm going to say with those two teams, but I look at all 10 of these teams. And the one thing I look at and I go, they could be potential playoff teams. They could be potential teams to make the playoffs. Like the Wolves, the Jazz are that team where it's like, are they going to be the 8th seed in the West? Or are they not going to be in? But like you ask anyone, Raptors, yeah, they'll probably get in. Hawks,
they'll probably get in.
I could see it. Cleveland, of course. Spurs, of course. Celtics, of course. T-Wolves, I'm high on, so I'm going to say yeah. Jazz, like I said, are iffy. Yeah. Pistons, Clippers, Warriors in the playoffs. That's the thing that out of any other of the 3 tiers we talked about, this top tier, I could see. I wouldn't be surprised if all 10 of these teams were playoff teams at the end of the year.
And this is one thing: the Jazz and Wolves are easily the worst 2 teams in this top 10, and you can't dispute that. They are the worst 2 teams
statistically,
even though they're so high, and even like actual talent wise. I mean, they have a lot of potential. And if the Jazz and Wolves aren't here this year or show that they're up here by the end of this year, they're definitely going to be there at some point just because they are so good and have so much potential. And they might not have those stars yet, but Gordon Hayward, if he does stay with the Utah Jazz, Dave's saying there's 0% that happens.
Yep.
If he does stay, he might be able to flourish into that star. We obviously got Wiggins and Cat here in Timberwolves. They just added Tom Thibodeau. Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential there with the Wolves. The Wolves might be 2 when the Clippers fall apart here. So there's a lot of potential there.
On the other side of that discussion, we might have gotten comments already. You guys are fucking stupid. The Cavs are not at number 8. They should be at number 2.
Well, we explained it.
But I mean, and that's it. You look at it: 23, 21 for 6-man center and shooting guard. It's like, yes, you have LeBron. Yes, you have Kyrie. Yes, you have K-Love. Those are your top players. Besides that, it's what really did you have where the T-Wolves, like you were talking about, we're high on Wiggins. We're high on Chris Dunn. We are high on on Ricky Rubio a little bit. Well, Ricky Rubio's
no, you're not. Don't lie.
I almost tried to fit that lie, but that is what I said last week holds true.
He's middle of the pack.
It's not about how many players you have on your team. It's about how good those players are. So the Cavs might have 3 good players. Yeah, in these rankings, they might be low, but in real life, they're the best team in the East.
It's good versus great. I mean, in the NBA, you got to remember, there's 500 guys. These are literally the best 500 players in the world. So when we say somebody's not that good, they're still amazing players. But look, you're very good. LeBron James is a fucking legend next to you.
And that's
between 1 and 2.
It's like the space between the Warriors and the Clippers on our rankings.
Yeah, and that's
30-point difference.
And that's something I want to mention too. Is that KD being number 2 got the same amount of points as James Harden did at shooting guard, or if we look at a little bit of a weaker position,
Drummond,
at
center.
DeAndre Drummond at center, like the same points as being behind LeBron. But if we did it by actual star power, I mean, Cleveland would probably be number 2 easily because of LeBron James getting like 150 points if we were just giving it out there. I mean, it's just more about the players that you have, and we're taking our positional rankings and adding those up. So like, this isn't like we were like, oh, the Cavs are the 9th best team. This is just how the rankings ended up.
And this is kind of a whole thing together because now you guys can go back 2 weeks of articles for the fast break on our website, mostvaluablepodcast.com, and see
in the description too.
Like this whole rankings, it was interesting, and the reason why I love we did this was, it was great to do the positional rankings, but now it's great to see, okay, with those positional rankings, how did we see the teams rank out? How would these teams be 1 through 30 with the rankings that we provided? And the only thing that's if this was like a scientific experiment, the one variable that, because there's always this one variable where it's like, okay, you know what, you got to take that into consideration. The 6th man Sean was not here, so Rankin stepped in for that. So there's always that one variable, but most of them were us three in the room ranking these guys. And if, I don't know about you guys, maybe your opinions are different than mine, but for the most part, I think we got it right I know like the ones we disagree with, like I had Luke Walton really high for the coaches. Dave said James Harden, where we said Klay Thompson. I feel like with our rankings, the three of us together, they all leveled out, and then these rankings were born.
Yeah. And one thing too is that they weren't like position weighted, because we kind of dreaded doing the shooting guard rankings, because we're like, okay, we got like what, the top 5 are really good, and then like everyone else is like meh. Where we look at the small forward position, where it's
or even the
LeBron,
power forward.
Yeah, I mean, well, small forwards, KD, LeBron, Kawhi,
Jimmy Butler.
Carmelo, Jimmy, Paul George, I didn't want to leave him out. Like those guys mean so much to their team, and those are the stars. If we were ranking it by stars here, then yeah, I mean, Warriors would still be number 1. Cavs are probably too easy. I mean, that's the thing. So it's not really the Cavs are the 9th best team in the league. They're number 2.
The one consistent thing across like the top 8 teams is head coach in the top 10. I think that stands a lot. That speaks a lot for what we think the impact of a great head coach to a team really does.
Dwayne Casey, the only one that's not in there.
No, and Ty Lue. Ty Lue was at 14, and Casey's at 15.
Yeah,
those are the only two out.
Ty Lue and Casey.
Yeah.
And like we said, LeBron would be number 1. So
LeBron would be up there. But look, it's crazy to think of the impact, and we don't give head coaches credit for, oh, well, you won X games, that's all on you. No, it's what was your impact to a team? What did you bring to the table? What did you put together offensively, defensively, matchup wise, and through best of series? And I think that the fact that we nailed these teams, and like you said, top 8 out of the 10 are top 10 coaches, I think that speaks a lot to these organizations, how well they're run, and how well they're going to do in the coming years.
And that even goes to, I'll go back to 2 teams we kind of focused on a little bit ago, the Jazz and the T-Wolves. Thibodeau was our 5th best coach. Quinn Snyder, even though I didn't technically agree, like I said, the whole leveling out thing happened, and he was number 9.
Yeah.
He was a top 10 coach, and that's another thing that kind of boosted these two into the top 10.
And real quick, the two coaches that didn't make it, Eric Spoelstra almost did. The Heat were 12, and the reason he's so low is just because of the team that was so old and depleted. Chris Bosh, obviously, as well. Yep. Yeah, Dwayne Wade leaving obviously hurt them as well. And the other guy was Rick Carlisle of the Mavericks, who really isn't getting that much help from his front office, and that's why he is so high, is because he takes what he's given and he consistently gets the Mavericks to the playoffs.
It's incredibly impressive what he's done with absolute dumpsters of teams in Dirk.
Yeah.
So
I thought you said dirt for a second, but I'm like, no, he said Dirk.
Yep.
Dumpsters and dirt.
But yeah, no, it's kind of cool because like if you look at the rankings and like how many top 10 players, like where the impact is across these, and you're right on, Sean. It's shooting guard is by far the weakest position, or I almost want to say the least impactful, because there are only 4 top 10 shooting guards in the top 10 team. So I feel like if in today's day and age, you need to be either a point guard or a small forward to have that huge impact on a team. Those are the most impactful positions in the NBA in today's game. That kind of it's interesting to think about.
Well, and another thing I look at a position I'm just going down is the center position, because it's the Warriors had 24, the Jazz at 11, they're barely outside of it. The Cavaliers at 21, and then the Raptors at 13. 6 of our top 10 teams had a top 10 center on that team.
And also one thing that I do want to throw out there too is a small forward. Number 1, Warriors had KD, who was 29. You had the Pistons, who I believe had Tobias Harris, who just made our top 10. The Wolves had Wiggins. Spurs had Kawhi. And the Cavs had LeBron. But one thing that people have always said too is if you look at the Jazz, Gordon Hayward, more of a small forward than a shooting guard, and that was just more of my real GM that didn't put that. And Jimmy Butler wasn't there too as well.
One thing that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, if JR would have signed when we did the shooting guard rankings, the Cavs would have been a little bit higher.
They would have been much higher.
They would have been higher.
We used Shumpert.
JR would have been a lot higher. That's why Shumpert was at 23rd overall on the shooting guard. So
the Hawks and Cavs would be tied for sure.
Yeah, Cleveland could have been a top 5 team just because I think JR would be easily top 15, maybe even top 10.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Well, I don't know about top 10 because
I said maybe top 10.
I think you'd be top
10 to 15 range.
I would, yeah. I mean, looking at this now, I don't know. I think he's definitely better than Gary Harris, but I think he would be way higher than where he had. I think he ended up rounding out at. Where do you end up rounding out, Ricky? I think you have it pulled up
with the Shumpert.
Yeah,
he was 23rd.
23rd. So I think he would probably be above Monta Ellis, Caldwell Pope, Zach LaVine. So I think he would be in that 15 to 13 range, which would boost them up more. So I mean, obviously J.R. Smith not signing, which we talked about a little bit earlier in the podcast, that did hurt their rankings, but the main takeaway here is star power in the NBA kills, and that's something that's going to affect free agent classes. This upcoming one that we talked about, it's going to affect the whole NBA in the future.
Are the Warriors a lock for the finals? That means because they have the most star power.
Ricky, people will find out until next week when we do our Hold Me To predictions. It's going to be a whole podcast devoted to who's going to be making the playoffs in the West, who's going to be making the playoffs in the East, and who is going to be advancing in the finals, who's going to be winning in the playoffs.
Expect them.
Bold predictions. So it's definitely going to be fun. Dave, Ricky, and I will be bringing to you those next week. So definitely stay tuned. It's going to be a video podcast as well. You'll be able to see us. And Ricky said he's going to make up some graphics. So we'll see if that happens. But we're definitely excited for this. And
what kind of a knock was that just now?
What?
We'll see if it happens. No, it's going to happen, Sean. Believe it. We'll have graphics.
Oh, no, I know. But I'm just saying, like...
I'm just saying with the little...
It wasn't a knock. No, it wasn't a knock.
Okay.
No.
I saw it as a little bit of a, whoa, guys, we're going to have the graphics.
We're going to have graphics. Sure. So anyways, for Dave Oster, Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. Do not forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast if you do want to help us improve it a little bit more. If you want to see video podcasts every single week, that's where you help us do that. Also, don't forget to check out Blog Talk Radio if you're not listening on there already. We have all of our full podcasts up there, so if you don't want to wait for the YouTube segments to come out there, check out Blog Talk Radio. But also, if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and do all that good stuff. We love the support you guys give to us. But for Dave Oster, for Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter @MostValuablePod for more great podcasts.